Lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
So what they have named this auxiliary area that we're using while we're remodeling the main bars, they're calling it the hidden pour. It's in the back left portion of the restaurant. It's a portion of what is one of their banquet rooms. And I got to tell you, it's really cozy. I like it back here. This is nice. The hidden pour is like they put outside. It says, come see it before it goes away. It'll take a little while before the main bar is back up and running here, but it will be before the season starts. So in the meantime, we are in the hidden pour. So come on back. Take a pour here at Rufino's on Highland Road. A number of things to get to. Camp is continuing everywhere. LSU with a full workout today that is not open to the media, so we're not expecting any updates or any real strong news out of there today. But tomorrow is the first full workout that is open to the media that's going to go past the hour that they went on day one. So you get a lot more information. I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about what I've taken away from the first couple of days. Here in a second. The Saints continuing camp today. The Hall of Fame game's in the rearview mirror now, but the Saints are now 10 days away from their preseason opener, or a week away from their next preseason opener. And they're going to play the Chargers, who played last night. So we got those things to get to today. Carlos Correa is back with the Astros. And did you catch the 16-run inning last night between Atlanta and Cincinnati? Hope you had the over. Each team scored 8 runs in the 8th inning. You could watch 100 years of baseball and never see something like that. It's only happened twice in the history of the game. 8 runs for each team in the 8th inning of last night's game. The trade deadline was yesterday. There was a lot of movement, some pretty big moves up in Seattle. Minnesota basically cleaned their entire team out and moved them out of town. And some other moves by the Yankees, the Padres that kind of caught our attention. We'll touch on that briefly. Did you watch the Hall of Fame game last night? If you bet on this thing, and I talked to people yesterday, I just want to bet on a football game. Okay, very, very light, because these are being played mostly by people that probably won't make the regular season roster in a lot of these cases, but the overall just automatic bet the under, that kind of went out the window a couple of years ago, and this game flew over the total at 34-7 for the Chargers. Max is going to come in here in a later segment, tell you that Trey Lance is going to be the favorite to win the MVP. He certainly had his moments last night. There were a couple of really nice throws that the former top 3 pick made, and he played most of the game. They did not go to DJU until late in the game. I thought actually on the other side, the quarterback situation was a little bit more interesting, at least because we know that the starters for both of these teams, these are both teams that have playoff aspirations. The Lions have Super Bowl aspirations, legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. So their starting quarterbacks obviously are set, but I think that the Chargers' backup quarterback is also set with Taylor Heineke. The Lions' backup quarterback situation is not that this is a huge deal, but last year they brought in Teddy Bridgewater late just in case something happens, and so they're looking for somebody to back up Jared Goff. Kyle Allen, the 7-year veteran out of Houston, had a rough night. He threw a couple interceptions. Hendon Hooker, we really liked in his senior season at Tennessee. Boy, he looked really good, and I wonder – Tennessee hasn't looked as good since, so maybe it's not just Josh Heupel. Maybe it was a lot of Hendon Hooker that year, but he really struggled in last night's action as well. The interception he threw was just an awful throw. So it was a Hall of Fame game. It was something that I watched pretty intently for about 2 drives, and then kind of had it on while I was doing other things last night. Did get to catch the debut of the Hawkeye. and I think this is going to be a real nice addition. They didn't even have the chains out there last night. They said they were going to have them as a backup. They didn't have the chains out there last night. They went to the Hawkeye. The first one that they did, it was almost like they were doing it as a test run because the line to gain they had made by well beyond the length of the football. It was almost like they wanted to try this thing out where it wasn't a close call. They got in and out of it. It's viewer friendly. It works good. Remember that they're just measuring the line to gain here. The Hawkeye doesn't aid in the spotting of the football, at least not yet. So for right now, all you're doing is they're taking where the football is and they're showing you the line to gain the same way they do with the tennis shots. They show you where the ball hit, the shadow of the ball hits, and they show you where the line is, and you can see whether it's in or out in seconds. They did this with the line to gain last night. It took literally less than 6 seconds to zoom in on the ball. It's done. You move forward. I don't know how many measurements with the chains they averaged per game last year, but you're going to shave about 30-ish seconds off every one of them. So speed the game up a little bit, and it'll be more accurate. What it's not going to do is it is not going to replace the officials spotting the football. So if you're still steamed about your spot, don't blame the Hawkeye. Blame the officials, which you were going to do anyway. So outside of that, the last night's game, the only other guy I really wanted to see that I saw was Amarian Hampton, the rookie running back out of North Carolina, who figures to be the starter and the workhorse for LA this year, and the Chargers playoff team a year ago, second year under Jim Harbaugh. They got the quarterback. They've got now what I think is one of the premier tackle tandems in the league. They signed Rashawn Slater last week. He's now the highest paid offensive lineman in the game. They drafted Joe Alt last year. He had a really good rookie season. So you got two bookend tacklers. You got the quarterback. You'd like to see him have maybe a little bit more at wide receiver. Lam McConkey had a really good rookie season a year ago. You'd like to maybe see him have one more there, but they're in pretty good shape. It's a really good defense. If Quentin Johnson can actually catch the football, the pick out of TCU from 2 years ago, that could be a really good offense. And Jim Harbaugh's a good coach for all of his flakiness. The Chargers are a real threat. They're in a tough division. Anyway, so that's I thought Hampton, he just had a couple of carries, but he was a real workhorse at North Carolina, and he can catch a football. They're going to use him a lot. If you're a fantasy football player, he's a popular choice, kind of moving up charts here a little bit. Got to see just a glimpse of him last night. Again, LSU on the practice field today, but no media availability, so we won't get a whole lot out of that. The first few things that I can tell you out of the first couple of days is that, first of all, this team reported in really good shape. They did not have, outside of Solomon Thomas, any injuries of any significance, so they start from a very good baseline. The offense looked pretty good in the limited amount of time they were able to see the other day. Garrett Nussmeier did everything he was supposed to do this summer from everybody that I've talked to. He's in terrific shape. He took control of a lot of the workouts. Everybody's responded to him. He's the unquestioned leader, and he's ready to have a big, big senior year. The offensive line's got maybe some question marks as to how the cohesiveness is going to look, but we're going to ask that question all through August, and we're not going to know until they get out there against Clemson. Last year, we thought all August they had a really good offensive line when it came to run blocking. Turned out they didn't. So I'm not going to make any bold predictions about what this group looks like, other than to tell you that there's more experience out there than maybe you would think with only one starter coming back from last year's team, but that's a starter from last year's team in DJ Chester. Braylon Moore was a 2-year starter at Virginia Tech. Josh Thompson was a starter at multiple positions at Northwestern, and even Tyree Adams started a couple of games last year, so maybe you're not quite as far down as you think. There's some depth there, some guys that they really, really like behind them, like Paul Mubenga, who started the last 5 games last year. That can slide in there. They like Bo Bordelon. There's a couple of the freshmen that they like that can slide into the 2 deeps. Carius Kern is probably the biggest name there. On the defense, a lot of guys that were with, I mentioned this yesterday, a lot of guys with the second unit that have played. So if, you're talking about the defensive line, everyone that went with the twos in the opening workouts has been a starter at some point in their career at LSU or somewhere else. Harold Perkins is completely healthy. In the secondary, the guys that went with the number 2 safeties, they have been starters at other points in their career. The number 2 corners right now, one of them has been a starter at one point in his career, and the other one is the top recruit in LSU's class. So all that's pretty good. They did some special teams work the media was able to see a little bit yesterday. You got a new punter, so you'll see how he does. We're not going to know until you get into the games about that, because what they do on the practice field, the specialists, whatever they do is subject to change once the lights come on and the people are out there and you're on the floor at Tiger Stadium, and the wind currents are a little bit different for your kickers and punters, so I don't put a whole lot of stock into what we see. All of these guys are qualified. They've all performed in game situations before. Lord knows they've got enough people in the return game. So all of that is a real positive thing. Continuity in the coaching staff. They're off to a good start. Today is August the 1st. They play on August the 30th. It's 4 intense weeks of get all this talent to mesh together. You're going to hear me say it enough times between now and the pregame show on August the 30th against Clemson, this is Brian Kelly's best opportunity, and it's also his biggest challenge, because he's got to put a lot of pieces together that haven't been together before. But like I said back in February when the transfer portal class came in, I said, you look at this roster. I mean, really look at this roster. There's an enormous amount of talent there. For the Saints into their second week, the biggest takeaways over there are, number one, there doesn't seem to be much separation at the quarterback situation right now. If they were going to play a game tomorrow that actually counted, or a game Sunday that actually counted, I think Spencer Rattler would go out there with the first group. If you were hoping that Tyler Shook would come in and dazzle and maybe separate himself a little bit in the first couple of weeks, that hasn't happened. Doesn't mean it won't happen somewhere down the line, but it hasn't happened so far. The Saints have made some real adjustments to their schedule to avoid injury. That's something else that has stood out for the first 2 weeks. And for a campus, and I'm calling the Saints Pelicans facility a campus, that's welcome news. I saw somebody post this. I wish I could take credit for it. But the relative lack of injuries through the first couple of weeks of camp have led them to say, whatever you're doing, go teach the Pelicans. I'm all for that. So the recuperation periods have been emphasized, and so far, so good with that. Actually, LSU taking a page out of that book as well. They had cut down the first practice to only an hour, and this first week of acclimation, where Brian Kelly said last year that their research shows them that a lot of these soft tissue injuries are coming in that first week of camp. They're trying to prevent that. So far, so good with the camps at LSU. And, well, with the Saints, we'll see. But at least so far, they're okay. Today's weekly features at Ruffino's. The appetizer feature the tuna, the sushi-grade tuna with the spicy mayo and the wonton crisps. The mortadella pizza. This is the homemade flatbread with pistachio and hot honey, olive oil, and basil. The entree features today include the porchetta pork chops, that is a stuffed bone-in pork chops with mushroom risotto, the shrimp palmero, jumbo gulf shrimp. It is served over penne with the sun-dried tomatoes and lemon butter. And the dessert feature today, the peach cobbler with vanilla ice cream and caramel topping. That is here today at Ruffino's. We are in the hidden pour, the back bar area in the back left corner of the restaurant as they do their renovations up in the front, getting ready for football season. Live at Ruffino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, don't forget our friends at Total Maintenance. Total Maintenance, one of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC and heating companies since 1980. It's hot It is very hot. So if it breaks down, something is just not cooling properly, call 480-1000. 480-1000. Service today, every day means same-day service. You'll never sleep hot with you call Total Maintenance at 480-1000. Call today, get service today. We're a factory-authorized dealer for Carrier, American Standard, Dakin, and Rheem products at Total Maintenance. We're authorized dealer for Generac and Cummins generators. Now is the time. We're right on the cusp of storm season, so now's the time to get those generators installed. And we're covering both Metro Baton Rouge and New Orleans areas, but not compromised in either because we have completely different staffs and offices for both. Breaks down. Call our friends who support the show, 480-1000. 480-1000, Total Maintenance.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remember, the show's available on demand, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge, and LouisianaSports.net. We go out and visit with our friend Chris Massaro. Chris, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How you guys doing this beautiful Friday afternoon? Oh, actually, are you guys in the afternoon yet or still in the morning?
We are still in the morning, but we're approaching noon at 11:20 Central Time here today. It's hot, man. I'm happy I'm not practicing football today. I can tell you that because it's a scorcher. Not that Southern California breezy weather that you guys are getting. I'm looking forward to Jimmy coming back next week and going, oh, it's so hot, and I'm like, yeah, good for you, because he's been enjoying this for way too long. So yeah, that's what we got going down here. Did you watch the game at all last night? The Hall of Fame.
I caught the second half of the football game. I did catch the Brent Musburger clips, which I thought was the highlight of the game. Detroit looked. I'm not sure what Detroit looked like. It was a turnover machine. Couldn't get a first down. I thought Hooker looked. I don't know. He looked like a JV quarterback. He refused to throw the ball. It looked like he just wanted to run it on every attempt. And all jokes aside, I guess you got to give credit to Trey Lance. I'm not sure who he's playing against, but at least he was making the right reads, the right throws, and running when he needed to run, getting out of bounds when he needed to get out of bounds, and he looked, he looked pretty good. I mean, obviously the guy must have had some talent to get drafted that high in the draft. Obviously, it's a disaster draft because they had to give up so much to get him, and luckily they got Purdy at the back end. But give him some credit. Some guys just flame out. Maybe he can stick around the league, make himself a career, and make some money out of it.
My thing with him is I think he's a talent. I just don't know how he's going to develop because I don't know who's going to give him a chance to play now. I think if this kid had put together 30 starts at the college level and come into a situation where, he was able to be eased in as a rookie, I think that his career path would be very, very different. I think if there was some team that was willing to throw him out there and give him, 17 starts, maybe he could develop, but I don't know how he develops, sitting in the 3-hole in Los Angeles, even in the 2-hole in Los Angeles. There's nowhere for him to play. He spent 2 years in Dallas, and they never could find anywhere to put him in. So I don't know if he's missed his window or not, but I just don't know where there's going to be a team out there that says, yes, we will put our future into this guy. We'll give him 17 starts, and we'll see how the chips fall. I think that opportunity has passed for him, so he's going to have to spike some kind of interest in somebody from the practice field of one of these preseason games. So that's my deal with him. I just don't know if there's going to be a chance for him anywhere.
Well, the good news is he's only 25 years old. The bad news is, as you alluded to, is he didn't really get a chance to develop at any level. He only played so many years in high school. He had a COVID year. He only played 16 games in college. And then he's thrust into this position as a top 5 draft pick where he really had no seasoning. He wasn't able to read defenses. Everything's just too fast for him. You're throwing not really even a D1 quarterback into the NFL level. Obviously the speed of the game, was obviously too much for him. He looked lost out there, and it was a bust of a draft pick. But like you said, he has the talent. He has he does have some sort of God-gifted ability with the arm strength and the mobility and the athleticism. You know what? Maybe he shines in the preseason, and maybe the Chargers are able to make a trade for him there's obviously a lot of teams. We'll see it all year, how many bad quarterbacks are around the league. Maybe some other teams able to put him in as a second choice, and he ends up starting for a team later in this year. If he was back on Dallas, not to get up, but if he was back on Dallas, that was a team you probably should have stayed on, because now their backup's Joe Milton, and Dak Prescott has the propensity to get hurt every year. So, the interesting choice that he's on the Chargers now.
I like him a little bit better than Joe Milton, even though Milton's got that bazooka arm, but I like him better than that. It's not the backup quarterback last night for the Chargers, DJU. Okay, what I wish I had more of with Lance is a sample size. Okay, with DJU, I've got 3 times the sample size that I need. That guy played from pretty much the day he hit campus, and I watched him play at Clemson. I watched him play at Oregon State. I watched him play at Florida State, and I watched him play last night. I know he can't play. Okay, I've seen enough. I know that guy's not going to be a starting NFL quarterback. I mean, he may hang around the league, but I know he's not going to be a starting quarterback. I wish Lance had that many starts. Then I know a little bit more. Hooker, I'm disappointed because I liked him so much at Tennessee. I thought he had, as a senior, one of the best seasons in the last 5 of any SEC quarterback. And then he got hurt. He missed basically his whole rookie year, was a red shirt, and same thing with him. I don't know where the opportunity is going to be. He's in a battle for this backup spot. Detroit's got a quarterback. I don't know what kind of chance Hendon Hooker is going to get. But boy, you're right. He looked bad last night. That interception that he threw, he sailed that throw. That was a tough throw. So. Anyway, we'll move on from the Hall of Fame game. Our buddy Mitch Moss had an interesting question today on X, and I'm not above stealing an idea. So his thing was, for the NFL, is there somebody that is a long shot to win any of the preseason award, any of the season-long awards that you can make a legitimate case for? Somebody who's off the radar. If you're going to go with the regular season MVP, throw the first 5 guys out. Somebody behind that, or defensive player of the year, or offensive player of the year, comeback player of the year, coach of the year. I don't know if you got any thoughts about that, Chris. I got a few names I'm going to throw at you, but anybody off the grid that you like? You know what? That's worth a long shot.
Well, I have a flyer that I've bet on a couple of places, and it's 25-1, so I think that's considered a long shot. And it was kind of due to the fact that I really thought Micah Parsons was going to have a huge year. Now he's coming out saying he might be exhausting all options to get his contract signed, and that he might request a trade. But the bet I've made is defensive rookie of the year, and it's Donovan Ezeraku, the kid from Boston College who led all of college football in sacks last year, 16.5. I bet him for defensive rookie of the year, 25-1. I figure with Parsons getting double teamed on the other side, this is going to open up a lot of opportunities for sacks for Donovan. And I really think this guy, he's a little bit of a late bloomer, but he really excelled at Boston College. He's a little undersized, but strong, fast, really gets to the quarterback. And I think at 25-1, he's a live long shot for defensive rookie of the year.
I like that pick. Parsons, the contract negotiations getting pretty contentious now. I mean, he's at the point now where a week and a half into camp, you're starting to see these holdouts. Him, Hendrickson, Terry McLaughlin made a request for a trade today in Washington, or yesterday in Washington. They're starting to get antsy. You're starting to get into the preseason games portion of the schedule next week, and these holdouts is getting pretty contentious. But I like that pick. I'll give you a couple that I came up with. Defensive Player of the Year. You're getting 40-1 on Patrick Surtain. I think he's the best corner in football. I know this usually goes to a guy with a lot of sacks, but to me, he's the best defensive back in football right now. And 40-1, I don't know. I don't know if he gets enough balls thrown in his direction to get the interception total up, but I thought that was a good price for a guy I think is one of the best players in the league.
Oh, it's a great choice, but that's the one problem. Will they test him enough where he has to make, if he only gets 3 or 4 balls thrown to him every game, he's got to maybe pick one off every other game to get the numbers up. And then he probably has to return at least one for a touchdown. I'm not sure the last What was the last defensive back to win Defensive Player of the Year? Do you have that off the top of your head?
My guess, without looking at it, would have been Darrelle Revis or Dion, one of the two. That would be my guess. I'm trying to think. I don't think Ed Reed ever won Defensive Player of the Year. I could be wrong on that, but my guess would be either Revis.
I want to say Stephon Gilmore might have won it for the Patriots one year.
2019.
Okay, 2019.
So it definitely can happen.
Yeah.
It definitely can happen at 40. Listen, I'm in big favor of any sort of bet that has a legitimate shot that's at 40-1 or 20, anything 25-1 or higher. Because everyone's going to be like, oh, I'm going to take Watt at Pittsburgh. Well, don't forget. I mean, Watt just signed this big contract. The last 6 weeks, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. The last 6 weeks of the season, he didn't record a stat. No sacks, no tackles. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know how that's even possible. And I can't believe they gave him all that money. I mean, I guess they kind of had to. They're going for it this year with Rodgers. He's only going to be there for a year. But some of these big names, like Hendrickson, obviously he's probably going to sign. He showed up at camp now. But you really want to bet a guy at single-digit odds who's he's not even practicing yet. You say it doesn't affect you, but I think it does. All these little holdouts, and I'm really upset about the McLaurin one because I'm very high on Daniels and I'm high on Washington this year. But God, can you get into camp? I mean, they're arguing over. He wants $33 million. The team wants to give him $26 million. Can't you just meet in the middle and move on and get to camp? I mean, these things can really affect the team, and you don't want to have bad juju going into the first week of the season.
Charlie, the thing is, if you're questioning if Pat Surtain could win Defensive Player of the Year, the answer is yes, because he did it last year. He's the defending Defensive Player of the Year, so he's done it before. The question is, would he be a repeat champion? I think the voters might hold that against him a little bit.
He was the Defensive Player of the Year last year?
Pat Surtain was the AP Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay, the AP Defensive Player of the Year. Why did I think that was somebody else? Well, I'm taking the 40-1. I noticed that's a bad miss by me that he won the damn thing last year.
So he's won it. He's shown you he can do it, and he's still 40-1.
I thought it was T.J. Watt last year. So there you go.
No, Max, you got it. Surtain last year, Myles Garrett, Bosa, T.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, Stephon Gilmore, the last one to do it, 2019.
Let me throw you one more. You get a choice here. Coach of the Year. I think that this could be the year that somebody breaks a stranglehold on the AFC West that the Chiefs have had, since Patrick Mahomes has been there. Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton are both 20-1. These were both playoff teams a year ago. They both seem to have had pretty good off seasons and added some people. So you get 20-1 on either one of those guys. Both of them are really accomplished head coaches. If either one of those teams wins the AFC West, I think they could make a strong case for Coach of the Year. I don't know if you like either one of them or neither or both.
Well, I'm not going to take my boy Mike Vrabel at 6-1. That's just completely insane. I can't. I'm looking at it right now. I can't believe he's 6-1. Wow, that is so low. You know what? I think all three coaches. I think don't discredit Pete Carroll either. I mean, he's obviously proven he can do it. I think you're probably right. I bet you the Coach of the Year comes from one of those three guys, and whoever maybe can upend Kansas City. I think this is the year that Kansas City finally gets upended in the West. They've played so many games over the years. Kelsey's another year older. Mahomes had his worst year of his career. I know he was trying to say they have great receivers, but I just don't see it. They lost some big pieces on the offensive line. And, just that Super Bowl hangover. I know people say it's not true, but I think it's a real thing. And I could see Denver or the Chargers, leapfrogging them, and maybe that's a good shot. I'm looking right now. If you can get 20-1, that's pretty solid because what I'm looking at now is 16, 18, and 16, Harbaugh being the 18 outlier. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind taking a shot at one of those guys.
I was surprised that Ben Johnson was a favorite at plus 650. I'm not that confident in him with the Bears. That to me, that's a little bit of a stretch. Chris, we appreciate your time as always. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you next Friday.
All right, have a great week, guys.
And we are brought to you by the Thibodeau Store and the Pierrepont Store, now offering same-day pickup on some of the orders that you can make off of the website. Tons of garden accessories on special right now. Save up to 25% on a number of the garden accessories, including your hoses and your spreaders and your seeders, tool storage, outdoor cooking, outdoor power equipment, paint matching, screen repair, key cutting, all these things available. Tackle all these summer projects. There's a special right now on the website on Milwaukee Power Tools going on right now. And the service that you get at the Thibodeau Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, is second to none. So if you've got some of those home projects that you think you might be able to tackle yourself with just a little bit of help, let them guide you so you're not wasting time and wasting money. Open daily until 5:30. Also, lumber delivery available out of the Pierrepont Store. Go online for either at thethibodeaustore.com is the website. Live at lunch, live from Rufino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget about friends over at Go Chevrolet in Laplace, and then Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine. The Go Automotive Group, my buddy Lee Carney and the great team over there. Man, the Silverado trucks, the Colorado trucks are outstanding. How about the SUVs? Ultra popular Tahoes and Suburbans. I got the Trailblazers, the Blazers, the Traverse Equinoxes as well. Some of our cars like the Corvette, Camaro, and Malibu. We've got electric vehicles as well. Take the short drive over to Laplace like I did, and I don't just talk about the vehicles from Go Chevrolet. I drive a Chevy Tahoe that I got from Lee Carney over at Go Chevrolet. My buddy Lee, go check him out over at Go Chevrolet in Laplace.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Rufino's Live at Lunch, we're in the Hidden Pour, the auxiliary bar, the facility that we're using while the renovations take place on the other side of the restaurant. Come on in, have a cocktail with us in the back left-hand portion of the restaurant. Max, you get your football Joneses going last night. You walked in wearing your Trey Lance jersey, and they made you take it off at the front. Proper attire is required here. But you're all excited for you guy last night. So I got to give you some props. You played pretty well.
Yeah, I stuck my neck out. This was the legacy game for Trey Young, or Trey Lance. If there was ever a time for him to prove or remind people of just who he was on a national stage, this is a chance, because he's not going to really get another opportunity like that. Ultimately, look, he's their third-string quarterback. I think he should be competing for the backup job. Taylor Heineke hasn't done anything in the league really to keep his job that firmly. I think it should be a race at this point. I have some bias. I think Trey Lance, though, the ceiling, you could kind of see bits and pieces of that. There were a couple downfield throws that were interesting. I think the bigger takeaways for me was he protected the football well. There were some throwaways. He scuffed the screen when it wasn't there. It was the throws that maybe weren't completed, that were dropped in the corner of the end zone, where he was only allowing his player to make that play, and that wasn't the case really when he was in San Fran, playing. He maybe put the ball in danger a little too much. I thought he was very poised, and it was a great performance. And so, yeah, Trey Lance just reminded everybody, hey, I was a top 5 pick once, and I'm not out of the league yet.
I've had to adjust my thinking on this a little bit, because for years, unless you had an injury problem, if you were a quarterback and you scrolled through 2 or 3 teams, there was a pretty good chance that it was never going to happen for you, okay? I don't mean guys that had contract disputes or had injuries or stuff like that. I'm talking about guys that just got flat-out cut. If 2 different organizations cut you, the odds of you coming back and being a really, really good quarterback somewhere else were pretty remote. If one staff misses on you, fine. But if 2 or more, but I've had to adjust my thinking, because 3 teams cut Sam Darnold. 3 teams cut Baker Mayfield, okay? Kirk Cousins is on, team number 3. And I think without the injury, the Achilles injury, Minnesota still might have let him go because of his age. And I think that had he not been hurt, he could have been a better quarterback in Atlanta, and I'm still not completely sure that he's done. So the idea that Lance could be cut by two different teams, and one essentially cut, he was traded from San Francisco, but he was cut. The idea that he could become a starting quarterback is kind of remote in my mind before all of these things started to happen in the last few years. And okay, well, maybe. But the difference is that when Mayfield went to those places, he got a chance to play.
Right.
And when Darnold went to those places, he got a chance to play. I don't know where Trey Lance would go where he'd have a chance to play. If you look at two quarterback situations, and both of them have decided to invest elsewhere, that have real, what I would call quarterback upheaval. New Orleans obviously is one. They've chosen not to bring in any veterans. They're going to go with the rookies that they've got. Rookies are second and third year players. None of these guys have really played all that much. And if that doesn't work out, they're going to invest in the draft next year. The other one would be Indianapolis, where I think they're going to force feed Anthony Richardson back into the lineup. And if he doesn't work out, Daniel Jones, I don't think they look at as a future. So maybe you would sign him in the offseason to go there. But there's no place for him to play in Los Angeles. And I don't know where else he could go to play. So maybe he's got a lot of talent. Maybe it resurfaces somewhere else. Sometimes it takes an injury, somebody get hurt for you to get that chance to go in and go, hey, wait, look, this guy can really play. Gardner Minshew's made a living out of that for about 8 years in the league now. Somebody's got to get hurt for you to get a chance.
Look, as a member of the Trey Lance fan club, and there weren't many members before last night, I'll say that. It was kind of holding out the last hope at this point. The train has left the station in terms of people supporting him at this point. I will just say that he is younger than Tyler Shuck. He is, I think, like 1 day younger than Michael Penix, who was just debuting last year. So it's not like the story's written for him. He's only played 22 games of college and pro ball. He does need reps, though, and where that's going to come from, I'm not sure. But if I'm the Chargers, why wouldn't he be the backup quarterback? He's something different than Herbert, and he maybe could pop off a little bit. Harbaugh could develop him a little bit. I just Taylor Heineke, he throws interceptions when he comes in. He's a career backup, but I don't really think that they need him to be the backup.
The Chargers are looking for somebody who, I say this all the time, if Herbert were to go down for 4 to 6 games, could he win half the games?
Did that guy last night look like he could do that? Now, it was against a third team.
It's against guys that are going to be selling insurance in a month. But
he was putting the ball where it needed to be, and that can't really be.
His arm talent, I will grant you that it's there, and the physical attributes are there. And if I were the Chargers, you know what I'd do? I'd buy one of those things that Jaden Daniels had over at LSU, one of those virtual helmets, and just stick him in the practice facility all day, every day. These are your reps, and next time you get to play, maybe it'll pay off. What'd you think of the Hawkeye last night?
I kind of missed it the first time that it happened. It's great. I'm a fan of getting rid of the chain gang, to be honest. I'm sorry. I know they're older. It's kind of a lore if you're a traditionalist. If it was baseball, they wouldn't want to get rid of it because of tradition or whatever. But why do we need the chain gang? It's kind of important if you're at the game to see them, but why do they have to come out and measure with a link or whatever, a chain link to determine, and you've got a ref showing you, how far off they were. It's old school. They don't need it. The Hawkeye works fine.
I'm a traditionalist for things that matter. Okay, the chain gang, the whole idea behind them is to get the first down spotted right. Well, if we can do that faster, that's the important thing. I consider myself a baseball traditionalist, but I had no problem when the intentional walk was just point down to first.
Sure.
I don't get anything out of wasting the time it takes for a professional pitcher to lob the ball 4 times 4 feet out of the strike zone. There's nothing exciting about that. There's nothing that is traditionally bound to the game about that. All you're doing is wasting everybody's time. So if you can do this without hauling, I don't need to see 3 guys haul the chains out.
No.
As long as we get this. Again, this thing is not spotting the ball. The officials are still spotting the ball. All this is doing is showing you the difference between the ball and the line of game.
And let's be honest, with commercials and stuff, it does feel like football has gotten longer over the years. It feels like it goes 3.5, 4 hours.
College football for sure. Now the NFL
Absolutely.
the NFL does a better job at getting everything into the windows. You know, the clock moves more. They've made some rule changes in college football to start the clock and get it moving a little bit faster. They really want to get into those 3:10. 3:15 windows. So if this helps them do that, then I'm all for it. I would like to shout at every network executive and tell them, listen, tell your play-by-play guys when the ball goes, when a player goes down, I don't need to watch the trainers huddle over him. I don't need I don't need the announcers speculating. Well, they might be go to commercial. This is when you go to commercial. I understand about going to commercial. I'm about to go to commercial. We got to pay our bills. But I don't need to, well, he may be hurt. Nothing drives me crazier than when they spend 2.5 minutes watching this guy down on the ground. They're going, oh, wow, we hope he's going to get up and we hope he's better and all that stuff. And then he gets up to walk to the sidelines and then they go to commercial. That drives me bananas. Anything to speed the game up.
The real next step, I want to see goal line technology. Why do we not know if the ball crossed the goal line in a scrum? That's what we need.
Yes. Why is there not a camera on each side of the goal line?
Or just something in the ball to where it knows it crosses the plane.
Yeah. If you can do that, the Hawkeyes' next thing is that. I'm all for it. We'll take a break here live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends over at Workbox and Workbox Services for all of your storage needs. And Workbox is just opened up a second location. That's right, a second location that we can service you all the way down to the Gulf Coast area, through New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and all the way to Lake Charles. Our great staff. That's right, we continue to grow. Martine Sr., Martine Jr., Hannah, Brandy, Chris, all great stuff, all great folks over there. So Workbox and Workbox Services, 343-4886, Workbox.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Mac Meisner and Sungjae M both in the clubhouse at 12 under par at the Wyndham Championship. But the other story in golf right now is Tiger Woods' son, Charlie. He is in second place at the U.S. Junior PGA Championship. Top two guys automatically on the Junior Ryder Cup team for the United States. They're going to play at Bethpage Black as well against Team Europe in September. He stays in second place. He's tied for second place right now. I don't think they've started yet today. They're in West Lafayette, Indiana. He's going to be on the Junior Ryder Cup team. Full disclosure here. I didn't know they had a Junior Ryder Cup team. I didn't know that was a thing. Did you? You're a golf guy. You probably knew.
Yeah, they have some younger versions of Ryder Cups. Walker Cups exist. That's the sort of amateur level Ryder Cup. But yeah, that would be huge for him. He missed the cut at one of the big junior tournaments recently, but hey, get things started for him.
He's going to be a junior in high school this year. He won an event at the TaylorMade Invitational, the American Junior Golfers Association event earlier this year. So apparently he's pretty good.
The pressure is immense. We're talking about junior golf here.
Well, he's got a name. He's going to get noticed. Hour number 2, straight ahead, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
He's out there somewhere in the world. Maybe even your local sports book.
Can anybody help us?
Let's bring in Bruce Marshall.
And return here at Rufino's on Highland Road. Come by here. The weekly features include the sushi-grade tuna with the spicy mayo, the mortadella pizza with hot honey and pistachio, olive oil, and basil, the porchetta pork chops, one of your entree features today, the stuffed bone-in pork chops, the shrimp Palermo, jumbo Gulf shrimp served over penne with sun-dried tomatoes and lemon butter, and peach cobbler with vanilla ice cream and caramel topping for dessert. That's here at Rufino's, where we are in the Hidden Pour, the bar that we're using here in the back portion of the restaurant while they continue their renovations in the main bar. Bruce, good afternoon. How are you?
Good, and an international call here, Charlie, because I'm in the Bay Area, and I don't know what country I'm in, actually, but I come up here. I have one of my doctors, my eye doctor, is at Stanford, so I come up once a year for a checkup, so that's why I'm up here.
Stanford's got a new AD. They hired one of the former executives at Nike while they're being sued by their former football coach. Speaking of football, since today we are 3 weeks and a day away from week 0. Kansas State and Iowa State kick the seal just 3 weeks from tomorrow. LSU started camp this week. Should see sometime next week, Bruce. I'm not sure the exact release time. The AP top 25 for college football usually comes out right about this time. This most years we know, and I think I know who it is, but I also think it's going to be a lot closer than most years. Give me a gander at your top 5 if you had to do them right now for what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably have Texas on top, though I'm not as bullish. I mean, I still need to be convinced about Arch, but I think I'd probably have Texas on top. I'd probably stick Ohio State in there as well. I'd probably stick Ohio State at 2. I'd probably stick Penn State at 3. I think things look pretty good for James Franklin there. If he can get over that hump in the championship game, we'll see about that. So 5 and 3, Georgia 4, and Clemson 5. That'd probably be my top. Clemson might actually move up to 4. But I think you'll see it'll be a familiar look. The combination remains to be seen, but I think it'll be the sorts we've seen there before.
You know, last year only 3 teams got first place votes. It was Georgia and Ohio State, and Oregon snuck one in. But the votes were almost everyone but one was Georgia and Ohio State. I could see as many as 5 or 6 teams getting first place votes when this comes out next week. Bruce, it just seems like it's a lot more teams that people have a legitimate shot to win this whole thing or to be the best team in the country. Last year you could get props on Georgia and Ohio State versus the field. I don't see anything like that this year where there's 1 or 2 teams that seem to have separated themselves. So I think you could have maybe twice as many teams this year getting first place votes as you had a year ago.
Yeah, I agree. I think all those teams that I mentioned a minute ago, and maybe throw Oregon in there too. Conspicuous by its absence this year will probably be Alabama, because we've been used to seeing the Tide get the votes and be right near the top. I don't know that we'll see that this year, but I think you're right, and I think my gut feel is Texas is probably going to be number 1. But the fact they're going with a quarterback, despite all the hype, we have seen very little of Arch, and that sort of encapsulates where this thing is at in August. So we're taking a reach with a lot of these teams that are regarded as the teams to beat. Clemson's going to get some votes too, even though, like we talked last week, neither of us are sure how great Clemson might be, but I would bet they're going to get some votes as well.
And see, I think I agree with you. When we talk about the usual suspects here, Texas has a quarterback that has started 2 games. Ohio State, we don't know who's going to start. Georgia's got a quarterback that has started 1 game. And Alabama has a quarterback that – did Simpson start that game at Central Florida, or did he just play a lot? But it's very little. So I think, actually, the number 1 team next week may very well be Penn State because of the consideration that they're going to give to Drew Allar. It could be Clemson. Because you got Klubnik there. And I think that Clemson is the best bet to make the playoffs, because even if they lose to LSU, they're going to be favored in every other game. I'm fairly certain that the rest of that schedule, Penn State's schedule, is tougher. So I think Penn State could easily be the number 1 team when we talk about this next week.
It might be, and the fact that Aller is back, the only thing that might get in Penn State's way is just that they, when Ohio State's there, and they haven't been able to get over that hump, but they would seem to be, because of Aller and because of returnees, that maybe Penn State would be rated above there. I think that, this Texas thing, though, I mean, when you're looking at the Heisman odds and you see that Arch is pretty much, the favorite across the board here for a guy who, like you said, has played very little in his career, there seems to be a lot of a bite now on Texas, and there's a lot of appetite for Texas, which I think might be a little bit misplaced. By the way, I don't usually get involved in the Heisman hype, but one of the odds floated across my radar screen this week, and I have never seen a price on a guy this high who I think there is a scenario where he at least gets involved in the mix. Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, I saw listed at 400-1. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman, but there is a scenario if Navy has the big year like I think, and Horvath does like what he did most of last year when he was being mentioned into midseason as a potential candidate, and the Army quarterback Daly ended up 6th last year, and had they had the Heisman voting after the Army game and after the bowl game where Navy beat Oklahoma, I say Horvath would have been in the Heisman on, but 100-1. What the heck? Take a little flyer on that. And, you don't get a guy at 400-1 who I actually think has.
There's two long shots that we're giving you. If you want to just throw a couple of shekels here. Horvath to win the Heisman, and yesterday Buffalo to make the playoff as the Group of 5 entrant. That could happen. They've got a chance to run the table and be 12-0 and be the Group of 5 entrant into the playoff. And you're getting, I want to say it was 40 something to 1 to make the playoff, or it's a pretty high number as a Group of 5 entrant. So we're looking for long shots here. Just something to keep an eye on, Bruce. That's a couple that we've got there. Now, notice I didn't say I think Penn State can finish number one. I think they can start number one. You got any faith at all that James Franklin, who had a really good team last year, and I think lost with the better team in the playoffs that night, do you think that this is the year he can get over the hump?
Possibly. Probably saying no, only because I think that Penn State right now, and how they get close but keep falling back. Even in the Notre Dame game last year, I mean, that was a bad mistake at the end of the game.
Do me a favor, Jordan. See if you can get him back. He's in a foreign country. That's Bruce's.
Of course he is.
That's Bruce's a little joke. He's not much on Southern California, and even less on Northern California. We are brought to you. We'll take this opportunity to tell you we're brought to you by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, helping you deal with pain. Dr. Michael Goff and his staff done a terrific job for us over the years. You've got back pain, you've got muscle soreness. If you've got things that are flaring up from old injuries, car accidents, or old sports injuries, let them help you out, get you adjusted, put you into a program that'll help you out. Maybe it's a stretching and exercise program that'll loosen things up, or if you do need dry needling or electric nerve stimulation, cryo, or ultrasound therapy, they can help you out with those things too. They're going to get you to feeling better. Airline Highway, Plank Road, and Jefferson Highway near Drusilla. Dr. Michael Goff, Louisiana Health and Injury Centers. All right, Bruce, continue what you were saying about Penn State. We lost you because you're in a foreign country. We lost you there for a second.
Yeah, I think I blame Gavin Newsom for that, but whatever. But no, I mean, because Penn State has, I think it's psychological almost with them, because they keep finding ways every year to miss in the big games, the Notre Dame game in the playoff. They were right there, a late mistake by Allard. They have not been able to get over the hump against Ohio State. They couldn't against Oregon in the Big Ten title game last year. They're going to be close again, but the fact that and they'll have a chance, but, the fact that they just seem to find a way to fall short in these big games, that makes me doubt they're actually going to do it. But I could understand in late August them being ranked number one going in. I mean, the numbers suggest on the returnees and the quarterback. And Aller is in the Heisman mix. Yeah, I could see them being ranked number one at the start. At the end, not too sure.
We're also talking about teams outside of the top four in the SEC. There's a big drop-off in the odds after you get past the first four teams, which are Texas, Georgia, Alabama, and LSU, in some order. What other team could make the playoff outside of those top four? Who would be your choice if you had to pick one outside the top four from the SEC that could make a legitimate run at the playoff?
Maybe Ole Miss. And this depends if Austin Simmons is as good as some of the people think he might be there. And those are some pretty big shoes to fill with Jackson Dart. But, I mean, last year, listen, Ole Miss was one of the 12 best teams last year. No question in my mind. But the treachery of the SEC and the fact they blew a game to LSU they probably shouldn't have lost. and they lost that game to Kentucky with no explanation to that. But they were one of the 12 best last year. Now it's a little bit of a different mix, but I think Lane's got these guys at the point where they're there, they're close. So Ole Miss would be there. And one other one, I'm a little bit reluctant to put this much faith in Billy Napier, but at the end of last season, Florida might well have been a top 12 team at the end of last year. And they came together very nice down the stretch. That game they lost at Texas by a lot was a game all the quarterbacks were hurt and Lagway didn't play. But you talk to the Ole Miss people and LSU too. Florida beat both of them down the stretch, and the Ole Miss people said that game wasn't a fluke. They said Florida was as good as anybody they played last year. So if Napier is up to it, and if that wasn't a mirage at the end of last season, Florida would be an interesting long shot for me. I mean, it's going to be dicey. Any team to get through the SEC with fewer than 3 losses is going to be a challenge, but I think Florida might be an interesting long shot.
And Florida's schedule is so demanding. We went back and looked at those games a little closer earlier this week, and Lagway was good, but it was the defense that was even better, and really kind of sparked the day. The 5 turnovers against Ole Miss, the 3 in the last 3 drives where they turned them away. Lagway was good, but Lagway wasn't overwhelming in those games as much as the defense that caused all those problems. Their red zone defense against LSU was phenomenal. LSU moved the ball up and down the field in between the 20s and had 3 15-play drives that resulted in either made or missed field goals. So the defense really did step up there at the end. Trade deadline yesterday in MLB, Bruce, before we let you go. Seattle adding a couple of big bats, and the Minnesota Twins basically gutted their roster yesterday. They moved 10 of the 26 guys on the big league roster out of the Twin Cities yesterday. So just really, if you're a Twins fan, you're really excited to go buy tickets now. It's like, hey, I want to go to a game. But what else caught your attention yesterday? The biggest moves in MLB. And one of those guys, of course, was Carlos Correa making his return to Houston.
Yeah, and one other thing, you're right, Minnesota. I mean, this is what teams that are on for sale, the franchise is for sale, and they're just looking to cut costs here now. So I think that was one of the reasons there. And the other thing here, like Houston, did make some moves. Correa, an interesting move, but I think a bigger thing is when Jeremy Pena comes back healthy here soon. Correa is supposed to move to third
today, maybe, right? I think he's supposed to play today. Pena.
I know it's going to be soon.
Yeah.
I mean, getting those guys back, but I think Seattle, some dramatic moves there. I mean, Suarez, why'd they let Suarez leave last year? They brought him back, but I mean, there he is. He and Naylor, I think and they already got Naylor last week, so that's a pretty big plus. San Diego really moved the needle. The bullpen was always good. Now it's even stronger with Mason Miller. They may move him as a starter next year. I like picking up O'Hearn and Laureano, give the offense a little bit more of a pop and some bats to use in left field. I'm surprised the Dodgers didn't do a little bit more. They are really gambling with this pitching staff. They're going to get Blake Snell back here shortly, but Snell, Glasnow, Kershaw, and Shohei have all had injury issues. And can you keep that rotation together? I'm not sure. I was a little surprised they moved Dustin May out of there. And I think the Phillies getting Duran was a pretty good move there for them to shore up their bullpen. Plus, they've got him for the next couple of years now, so they finally got their closer they want. So those sides sort of caught my attention, and we'll see where it goes.
Thought the Cubs might make a move for a bigger pitcher than what they did. That was one of the other ones that I thought might be there, but we'll see. Bruce, I would say enjoy your trip, but just be safe in your travels, and we'll have you back in Las Vegas next week. Hopefully we'll have Jimmy back next week too.
Back to the United States next week. There we go.
Thanks a lot. Bruce Marshall joins us every Friday here at Ruffino's Live at the Hidden Pour here at Ruffino's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Yes, indeed. Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive on Segan Lane. Segan and Perkins, between Perkins and I-10, right across from Ambrosia Bakery. So whatever, like your engine light comes on, bring it on in. Belts, hoses, wheels, tires, general services like AC repair, AC service, undercar services, transmission work, electrical work, electronic, whatever you need on your vehicle, bring it to Jason Payne, because what you want in a mechanic, his auto maintenance work, is a fair deal. You've heard the horror stories of be getting upcharged for unnecessary work. Not the case at K&M Automotive. 8445 Segan Lane, Segan but Perkins, across from Ambrosia Bakery. We're open 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Tell Jason you heard me talking about it right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. It's the only place I take my vehicle, K&M Automotive on Segan Lane.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Rufino's live at lunch. Saints continuing with their training camp, another workout this morning. ESPN did another list today. We don't spend a whole lot of time talking about these lists, but I finally found a list where the Saints are on 32. They ranked the coaching staffs from 1 to 32. The Saints come in at 30, head of the Jaguars and the Giants. They actually put Brian Daboll, who, even though he's been there a couple of years behind him, but they do have the Saints at number 30. But, Max, there's been a shift in the odds for New Orleans quarterback derby, and it pretty much mirrors the reports we've been getting out of Saints camp, which is that while nobody has maybe necessarily got a vice grip on this thing, they still got 3 preseason games to play. Tyler Shough has not come in and distanced himself from the field. In fact, I said it earlier, if the Saints were playing a game on Sunday that mattered, Spencer Rattler would be your starting quarterback, and the odds reflect that.
Yeah, this has adjusted just this week. Early on, the Queen, our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, and the Queen have a quarterback special tab where you can bet who's going to take the first snap in week 1. And this was Tyler Shough minus 250, minus 300 type favorite as early as recently as earlier this week. And that has changed now. Spencer Rattler is a favorite at minus 140 to take the first snap, with Shough plus 105 and Jake Haener very distant in the odds. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. I honestly think there's a little value still on Rattler at this point, because everything that we've heard, and look, a lot can change. We saw Jake Haener last offseason have what was a great camp, and then preseason play came around, the preseason games, and he wasn't any good. So a lot can change. There's still a month to go. But right now it seems pretty clear, based on the reports that we're getting, that Rattler is far and away the best option at this point, and that Shough is struggling a little bit with the speed of the game and processing and whatnot. So I do see a case, and I think it's honestly probably best for everyone involved if Rattler starts the season. They've got a tougher stretch of games earlier on, and then maybe you sort of develop Shough to where he's ready to join at some point during the season. But yeah, I think Rattler is going to be the quarterback right now. That would be my guess, and the odds are reflecting that at minus 140.
The Rattler odds, I think, were set based on the fact that this coaching staff did not draft Spencer Rattler. They drafted Tyler Shough, and they drafted him a lot higher than the organization had drafted Spencer Rattler. Now, yes, in theory, it shouldn't matter where you draft these guys. Once they get on the field, you play the guy who's better. But we all know that biases are hard to break, and if you took your guy, you want to play your guy. So this is a good news, bad news thing. The good news is that I think that bias leads you to the assumption that Spencer Rattler has got to beat him out. Okay, even though Rattler's been there a year, you got to exceed the expectations of the group that's coming in. Because let's be honest, Kellen Moore got there maybe a little bit late because of the Eagles' Super Bowl run, but they had plenty of time to look at Spencer Rattler film. They had plenty of time to get to know him in the building, the whole thing. If they thought he was the guy, well, they wouldn't have used a second-round pick on a quarterback, I don't think. So you go into camp with this idea that they favor Shough. Well, now you've been there for coming up on 2 weeks. Well, that's not the case. Rattler has outplayed him. So, okay, that means Rattler's played really good. It means that Shough has not met, at least for the first 2 weeks, their expectations. And like you said, we still got a month to go. Do you really, in your heart of hearts, think that Spencer Rattler is an NFL starting quarterback?
Not a starter. I want to see something though. I know his numbers weren't great last year. 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He was 0-6, but he was throwing to some very low-level wide receivers. He was throwing.
The offensive line was
behind a really shoddy O-line.
Yeah, you didn't have a whole lot to.
He didn't get a fair shake, and I think we can still see it. I'm not saying that Rattler or Shuck is maybe the long-term answer, but I kind of still want to see something out of both. And I think the easiest way to kind of ease Tyler Shuck into the NFL would be to let him sit a little longer, let Rattler get maybe the tougher part of the schedule, and then at some point we do see Tyler Shuck take over the reins as the starter. But, the Saints are probably going to draft a quarterback again next year, more than likely, I think. Do you think that Shuck or Rattler, whoever it is the starting quarterback next season? Like, if the season doesn't go well, they're probably drafting a quarterback. So you might as well see both of them and just make sure that you don't have your future quarterback.
The perfect scenario is that they have a bad season, but one of these guys looks really good. I haven't seen Shuck play in an NFL game. I can't just throw that away. I've seen Rattler play a little bit. Do I think he is a starting quarterback in the NFL? I don't. I've never been a big fan. I think there's some ability there. I think he can stick in the league and be a backup. But do I think Spencer Rattler is a long-term successful starting quarterback in the league? I don't. I'm not saying he can't play at all, but do I think he's a guy that's going to take you to the playoffs? Or I don't.
I believe in Rattler. I agree with you. I don't think he's
and that goes back to my time with him. I watched him play at Oklahoma. He came in, and I watched him play 2 or 3 times, and he'd been the number 1 player in whatever rating.
Highly touted.
I don't see that. He went to South Carolina, had his ups and downs. That 2-game stretch where they played Tennessee, he had the game of his life, and then they played Clemson, and they won the game. He played okay in that game. He had one big mistake, but he played okay, and they won that game. It was a big upset. And so that was good. And he's done all the right things, okay? The work ethic is really good. The attitude is great. But I don't know if he's a guy. I don't think he's a guy. I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think he's the guy that's going to take you to the playoffs down the road. I don't know that any quarterback could take this roster to the playoffs this year. I mean, you'd have to have an elite quarterback, so there's a lot to ask these two guys. Shuck, I don't know. I don't want to make too many declarations on him 2 weeks into his first training camp, and maybe it's best if he doesn't go out there. If he were a rookie coming in and the Saints had, a veteran quarterback that was near the end. Let's say Kirk Cousins had been sent to New Orleans instead of Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton, and Cousins was still here, and you're like, okay, Cousins is going to play maybe 1 or 2 more years. You're drafting this guy to be the heir apparent, but we don't want to rush him out there. We wouldn't be expecting so much out of him if the Saints had a veteran quarterback on the roster, because they don't. You're expecting more out of him, and maybe that's not fair to him. I am anxious to watch the preseason games. For once,
no doubt.
I want to see.
I am excited for that, and we'll see. If the results match what we're hearing from camp, maybe it's different. Maybe Shuck finally just gets it at some point, and things start to transition into making sense for him and flowing and not making mistakes, not throwing off his back foot like apparently he did yesterday. This is a surprise. When the Saints drafted Tyler Shuck, we all expected, I think, Tyler Shuck would be the starter week 1, just because he was an older quarterback, and this is a new coaching staff that picked him out, and there was not really much else out there. Honestly, if we thought it would be anybody else, we thought they might bring in a veteran quarterback who might start the season. But, yeah, it's a little surprising, but maybe Shuck's just not quite ready yet, and just be patient. Wait and see, and I think Rattler is probably the deserving favorite to take the first start.
We want to welcome the Morris Insurance Group into the Live at Lunch family. Right now, if you're having a hard time, if you're a hunter, a fisherman, if you've got a camp, if you've got some property, if you've got a boat, you've got an RV, you've got a four-wheeler, you've got tractors or boat trailers, and you want insurance on them, you had a hard time getting some of these things, the Morris Insurance Group urges you to look again because they can help you out for your outdoorsmen for those difficult properties to ensure. Flood insurance is available. Owners of duck camps, fishing camps, RVs, ATVs, your trailers, your tractors, all of those things, you can get coverage on them through the Morris Insurance Group. Talk to my man Buzzy Hydell. Get a quote today at 201-0007, 201-0007, or you can go to the website morris-ig.com for all your outdoorsmen. It is the Morris Insurance Group, and As for Buzzy Hydell, ask him how many throws it takes him to get from walk-ons to Alec Box Stadium. Live at Ruffino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows. If your homeowners association requires wood windows like mine, no better people to call because you get the best of both worlds. The builder wants something that's going to last. Yes, we do too. But the architect wants something that is going to prioritize what looks better. We want that too. But you also want it to be functional also. It is functional. I love my Relief window. When the weather is really nice, roll them open in a media room, man. Enjoy the open air. And they look great. They're functional, and they are built to last. Built to last because it's RLS wood by Geldwin. Unlike your average wood, which is treated on just the surface, it's treated straight through the core, offering unparalleled protection against rot, water saturation, and termites. These wood windows from Relief Windows are built to last. Check out all of their products at reliefwindows.com. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And return here at Rufino's live at lunch. Charles Hanniger, Max Gautreaux. All right, Max, a couple of days into camp. We got a little kind of a brief look at LSU so far. Going to get a good chance tomorrow morning to go out and see a full practice. So, we don't make too many sweeping judgments, but just from the early stuff you've been reading, what's your biggest takeaways so far, first few days of camp?
That they have a lot of good receivers.
A lot of good
They're
receivers.
stacked at wide receiver, and I think that's important because we question maybe if there is a question mark on the defensive side, there's two questions probably. The defensive line, but they brought in a lot of guys. Like who's going to emerge, I think, on that defensive line. But you look at the secondary, I think that's one of the bigger question marks. And they're getting tested every day. That's great. Like they have depth there. They've got a lot of guys. Well, they've got a lot of guys at receiver, and they've got a great quarterback. So the good thing is, even if you're getting cooked a little bit in fall camp, you're probably not going to be cooked like that all the time because you're basically playing the best team, the best offense you might play all year, right? So you're getting tested for Clemson out of the gates. You're getting tested. You're going to get exposed by good quarterback play, by a guy who's going to place it where his receivers are going to be, where the receivers are going to really challenge you day in and day out. They are being challenged, and I think that is very encouraging for what is the biggest question mark defensively, probably.
Yeah, we saw last year what a big difference Chris Hilton made when he was healthy. So now you have two of him. You have him and you have Barrion Brown, who's a clone of Hilton. And you have Aaron Anderson, who was so productive. And if Nick Anderson is back from what he did 2 years ago at Oklahoma. And Xavier Thomas, who is kind of the forgotten man in all of this stuff. And then I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting much out of Destin Hill. It's been a long time since he was the big-time prospect out of high school, and he just missed a lot of time, and I did not know if he would be up to speed very quickly. Well, we found out, that when they took him, I thought, okay, he's missed a lot of time, some off-the-field stuff. Okay, well, that's another guy that is going to play. Didn't expect much out of Kyle Parker coming back off the injury. Well, he may be in the mix too. So much so that a guy like Teron Francis, a freshman receiver who I think is going to be really good, may not see the field at all because there's just so many experienced guys in front of him. I can remember in the 2003 season and going out to camp that year and saying, man, I really like this Dwayne Bowe guy. He's terrific. And he didn't play at all. I think he had 6 or 8 catches that year. Why? Because they had elite receivers up at the top in Michael Clayton and Devery Henderson and Green. There was no room for him to play. Well, we weren't wrong. Dwayne Bowe was a really good player. When he left here, he had set records. But there was no room for him to play that season as a freshman. And I wonder if, Francis, we might be looking at him in 2 years going, man, that guy was really good, but he didn't play hardly at all as a freshman. Well, there's a reason for that. My other big takeaway is that, and I thought this, but when you get to see it with your own eyes, and I didn't get a chance to go out to practice, but I've seen some of the video, and I've talked to people that were out there, and I'm going tomorrow, so I get a chance to put my eyes on this. I've never seen a really good LSU team that did not have a really good defensive line. It's most of LSU's best team. Now the 2019, the defensive line wasn't the best part of that team. It was the quarterback and the receivers, but the defensive line was pretty good. The 2011 team, the 2003 team, the 2017, they had monsters on the defensive line. And not only do you want monsters, you'd like to have some depth there. So when I look at the first group that goes out there on Wednesday, and I see Pybron and Relaford at the ends, that means that Patrick Payton and Jamari Butler were starters or backups, okay? Now, I'm not suggesting that that's the way they're going to start against Clemson. I think that Payton eventually is going to work his way into that starting lineup. But it means that if you can get a rotation at that end position, you got at least 4 guys that you really feel good about, well, that means you have some depth. That means that you can wear some people down. And if anything, I'm even more encouraged by what they've got on the inside. Because when McKinley and Bro went out there to open practice, that means that Jacobian Guillory, who's a 19th-year senior, is coming back from an injury. Well, I know that guy can play. And then Bernard Gooden to me is the kind of guy that if you bring him in and you can get short, spurts out of him, because he's undersized. He's probably about 270 pounds. But I don't need him to play 65 snaps a game. I might need him to play 15 snaps a game. I might need him to play 12 snaps a game, 18 snaps a game. If I can get maximum quickness out of that guy for a dozen snaps a game, well, maybe 2 or 3 of those plays are plays that he makes that might be a difference in the game. When I think about, you want to bring some size in there, this Sadir Mitchell kid that they got from Texas who was kind of a favorite of Bo Davis, and I didn't know what Davis's departure might mean for him. That guy weighs 350 pounds. Okay, so now I got a small guy. And I got a big guy. I got a small, quick guy, and I got a big, ginormous guy, in addition to 3 other guys that I know can play. Because I watch Bro, and I watch McKinley, and I watch Guillory, and all of those guys, are starting caliber players. So now I got 5 defensive tackles, and I got 4 defensive ends. That's a lot of defensive linemen that have played, that are starting caliber players. Man, if I can do that, I can get after some people in the fourth quarter. That's encouraging to me. I think that the safeties are, when Cooley and Halsey end up, who I think are going to end up being the starters, those guys were really productive players where they were a season ago. I don't expect them to have great chemistry on day one. That's what these 30 days are about. That's why all of this stuff's on Brian Kelly. I don't know what the corner rotation looks like. All I know is they got guys littered throughout the 2 deep that have started a bunch of games. And it means that I don't have to shove a freshman out there that's not ready. I don't have to overwork, my defensive tackles. The defensive tackles, can get worn down. We've seen in past years where they only had 2 or 3 guys that they thought could play. I got 5, at least 5. And that's if none of the freshmen play. That's without any of these freshmen making a move into this. So that's what's encouraging. And I know the quarterback's good. Okay, yeah. And I know the offensive line's got some things to work out. That's what's encouraging to me is I've been watching them play bad defense for too many years now. This is where you turn the corner defensively. All of the spotlight's going to be on Nussmeier, and that's fine. If I was coming from outside the program, that's the first guy I'd mention too. This defensive depth, that's where I think you could. when this team gets out on the field and the nation looks at them against Clemson, I think that's where they could really surprise you. Like, man, look how many dudes they got over there. Now, Clemson goes and carves them up for 40. I'll get on the air on Labor Day Monday, and I'll say, I'll do it before then. I'll get on the air in the postgame show and say, I was an idiot. But that's what I think right now.
I agree. I mean, when LSU has this DBU moniker, they take so much pride in DBU mattering, and that's fallen off as of late. And so when you look at the defensive stats falling off, I think a lot of people would point to specifically the secondary. But LSU at their best has a good defensive line, has a strong defensive line, and this could be one of those. I think this team goes as far as the line of scrimmage takes them on both sides of the ball. And it's always tough to judge this time of year, August 1st, talking time, what actually the O-line, D-line looks like, because they're going up against each other. We need to see them against somebody else. And so the amount of times that we spend a month talking about, well, the O-line's getting beat every day, or the O-line looks good, the defensive line's not getting pressure, that they're going up against each other. So we can't really grade them off of that. We're guessing a little bit. Oh, the O-line looks good, but we don't really know. This time, I think over the next few weeks, we're probably going to hear, hey, they're generating pressure. But does that mean the O-line is in trouble, or does it mean that the D-line's just really, really good? And sometimes it's both, but sometimes we go up in the first game of the season, and oh boy, we thought the O-line was good. They're not ready. Against Florida State a couple of years ago, maybe in the Superdome, the O-line was not ready, and that's what we're going to find out early. We're just guessing at this point, but the line of scrimmage to me is what's going to take this team to whatever ceiling or floor that they end up at.
I really wish they were playing North Texas in Week 1 and Clemson in Week 2. I really wish that. I'd feel a lot better about things, because you got to be at full speed, game 1, play 1, which is what they've been pushing out there. But it's hard
against a team with a really good line of scrimmage. That's more proven than LSU's at this point.
We're brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners. When it comes to retirement, no two situations are alike, so let Coastal Capital Advisors work with you, your business partners, your legal team, and tax professionals to make sure all of your retirement goals are achieved, no matter what stage of your life you're at, no matter your age or your financial income. They'll work with a plan that is tailor-made for your family so that you can be secure in your retirement goals. Contact Philip Fontenot and his staff, 337-981-1376, or online, coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors, member FINRA SIPC. Back to wrap it up here, live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Well, we want to say good luck to the Baton Rouge Rougarou championship game at Pete Goolsbee Field tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. There is, I hear a free ticket night from AMG Specialty Hospitals, and it's the championship game between the Rougarou and the Victoria Generals. We've had Ronnie on the show a couple times this summer, and I've heard him with some of the other guys too. They put together a roster they really liked. I've done some Rougarou games. Didn't do any this year, but I've done some in the past, and it's a challenge to put together a roster, because you get collegiate baseball league. A lot of the players that come from colleges, they come with instructions. Do you ever see Gremlins?
I have not.
Okay, Gremlins. The Gremlins came with instructions. You couldn't feed them after midnight.
Okay,
you couldn't expose them to bright light and all that stuff. Well, the collegiate baseball players, they come with instructions from their coach, like you can only pitch this guy in relief, or you can only start this guy at second base, or this guy can only pitch this many innings. So it's a challenge, and the roster's constantly turning over. And they've done a really good job of kind of perfecting that over the last couple of years, and this team is the best one since Ronnie's owned the team. So they're playing for the championship against Victoria. Go out and support them at Pete Goolsbee Field on Saturday night at 7 o'clock.
Love it. The Rougarou. I unfortunately am busy Saturday, but otherwise I'd probably go. I would definitely go, because it would. It's cool to watch baseball this time of year. There's not a whole lot on. I don't know if you've checked TV, Charlie. If you turn on the TV guide, there's not a whole lot going on. But I watched, a little baseball in the summer, that's
I watched
great.
the whole Hall of Fame game last night. I'm not telling you I was zeroed in on the whole Hall of Fame game last night, but I watched – it was on in my office last night for the entire –
And they've had some great events there, too. You know, Brian Kelly threw out the first pitch more recently. I think –
Skip Bertman's they did Skip Bertman night a couple of weeks ago.
Stephen Milam was out there.
Milam was out there.
So, yeah.
Bertman's grandson pitches for the team. So yeah, they've done some cool things out there. They do some cool promotions. So it's fun. It's inexpensive. You can go out, and the quality of play. I didn't know quite what to expect when I first went out there, and the game, it's pretty good. These are all college players that are all. They have played somewhere the previous year, and they're going to play at a team the following year. So they're into it. They're just coming out of a college baseball season. So the play's pretty crisp for what you would college baseball in the summertime. So good luck to Ronnie and those guys over the weekend. This is also, correct me if I'm wrong here, the last weekend without football until February. Till the week after the Super Bowl, right?
Oh, yes, you're right.
Okay,
you're correct.
I mean, at least we get preseason football next week. This is the last. It's the last one. So
it's August.
August 1st. If you got a fishing trip you've been meaning to take, you got to do. Also, for a lot of parents, this is the last weekend before the kids start school.
Buses are coming. Uh-oh.
I got a text message from my brother and my sister-in-law about. Let's just say how excited they are that school starts next week. The kids will be getting out the door next week. Come on by Rufino's. The features this week include the sushi-grade tuna with the spicy mayo and the wonton crisps, the mortadella pizza with the hot honey and olive oil, the porchetta pork chops, the stuffed bone-in pork chops, the shrimp Palermo, the jumbo Gulf shrimp with the lemon butter and the sun-dried tomatoes, peach cobbler for dessert with vanilla ice cream and caramel topping. Thanks to everybody for being a part of the show today. For Jordan, back in the studio, for Max, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.